Hey, business building warrior. This is Jim, host of Silent Sales Machine Radio, and I've got another great episode for you today with a guest. Most of our episodes do include a guest around here, and typically they're students of our proven Amazon course or our coaching program. And that's what we've got for you today. Another proven Amazon course student who started not that long ago. He's busy, he's got a full-time job, but in the extra hours he has in his time, he's begun building a business. And he recently posted an exciting update in our free Facebook group. There's a link to that group, by the way, at silentjimdotcom. All these links will be in the show notes, anything we talk about today. But he said, hey, just had a few great sales days and celebrated with the community, and everybody hopped on and said, hey, great job. I reached out to him and said, hey, how do you think about being on the podcast? I know you're new. I know you're just getting your feet under you, but let's tell your story, because we've heard from many listeners to this program. If you've listened to more than 15, 20 episodes, there's a theme here. It's a lot of success stories. In some cases, people who've built massive businesses, in some cases very quickly. And then it's other people who are in those newer stages of just starting, still making some mistakes, which we all do, no matter how big our business is, but they're still learning the basics. And that's certainly the case today with Ted. He's learning the basics. Now, he's bought some successful inventory, and he also uses he's very transparent and tells us he's bought some really bad inventory, stuff that sold slowly. He got over aggressive. He got too excited, bought too much. I love talking through these kinds of conversations with newer sellers because it's the same journey we all go on. And I think you'll be able to relate to him. He's using a virtual assistant. He's got an interesting story how he found the virtual assistant. It's kind of working out and it's kind of not in some ways. So it's a very transparent, like I said, story about how to go from knowing nothing to getting some momentum, making some mistakes, having some celebrations, but having a trajectory that's pushing you towards eventual tremendous success. And I believe it's inevitable in this case because he really is dialing in his process. And I enjoy painting a very realistic picture for those who are considering this business opportunity. Some people are on the impression that you can find a business opportunity that is so low hanging fruit, so easy to get into, just throw a little money and things become beautiful overnight. Those businesses do not exist. If you're under that impression, this is the wrong community for you. We don't have that to offer. We don't sell it. We don't teach it. We don't pretend that that's what we have. It's work. There's a learning curve. Your results will come over time. You're going to make some mistakes. But the beauty of it is there's such a low barrier to entry, such a low price point. You can earn money as you're learning. You'll hear very early on in my conversation today with Ted that he almost spent a whole bunch of money going down a road buying a private label course that would have cost him thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars trying to launch a new brand on Amazon. We saved him from making that bad mistake. Now he's on a trajectory of spending a little bit of money at a time, learning as he goes, and fitting the business into the cracks of his life where he can spend some time learning and sourcing and growing his Amazon seller business. So that was my conversation with Ted today. We talk a little bit about routines, the routines that you need to have to succeed in life and business. He's a younger guy. He's very fit. He's a fireman. We talk a little bit about some of the other projects that he's involved in. I think you're going to enjoy just a conversation, two guys talking about Amazon and life with plenty of good practical tips mixed in there. Enjoy my conversation today with my good buddy, Mr. Ted Harton. Enjoy. So Ted, welcome to the program, my friend.
Thank you, Jim. This is quite the honor. So I'm really excited.
Well. I appreciate it. And for those who can't see my guest today, he's wearing an Indianapolis Colts fan. We're some of the saddest NFL fans possibly in the world of football. So we're commiserating a little before we hit the recording today. But it's great to see him, man. Of course, yeah, he's from my hometown. And so we've actually been to some meetups and things and I've come across Ted and a really great guy. Excited to see his business taking off. And let's hear your story, buddy.
So I've heard about Amazon FBA for a while now and just never really got into it. But I've always been looking for ways that I can work on a business just from my laptop and something that I can build that'll eventually be kind of passive. And the first thing I actually pursued was a t-shirt, like a print on demand company. So I'll make t-shirts, and it's really nice because that's pretty much completely passive now. If someone buys something, it's automatically made, shipped, and sold. And so I got that going, but then it wasn't
an online business venture, I take it, right?
Yep.
Like website and that sort of thing. Gotcha.
Yep. I sell my t-shirts on Etsy, and I use Printify. And so like that was cool. And that was something like I could kind of use like some of my creative juices to like, turn some things into stuff that I can actually sell. But it wasn't really, things weren't selling very fast until last Q4. Like I finally started to see some sales. But anyways, that's something that I can kind of work on whenever I want. But I wanted something more, something that could actually turn into something big. And the way I got into Amazon FBA is I came across a YouTube video that was like 5 hours long. I was like step by step. And I was like, oh, wow, look at all this free information. And so I got excited about it. And of course, it was a private label. And I was like, all right, this is cool. It sounds easy. They're making a lot of money. But then they tried to sell me a course that was like 1,500 or something. And I was like, all right, well, let me do a little more research before I dive into something. And I looked up, what's the best Amazon FBA course? And Proven Amazon course was like one of the top 2 or 3 on a bunch of different sites that I was looking at for reviews. And so I looked further into it and, watched you talk a little bit about it. And everything made a lot of sense. And it was only at the time, it was only $29 a month for the Proven Amazon course. And which it's barely anymore now, but
a tiny price bump. We're up to a little over $1 a day instead of a little under $1 a day now.
Yeah,
but still, same basic premise of super low cost.
Yes, exactly. And then so I bought the Proven Amazon course, and then I signed up for the Kickstart program and the like $1.
And when would this have been, Ted? How far back are we? Because here we are, January 2023. How long ago was that?
This was mid-July.
Okay, so 6 months or so ago.
Yeah. Yep. And so just started learning, started listening to the podcast. In the Proven Amazon course, I listened to the Amazon 101. Watched all those modules, and then the Jimmy Smith's 0 to 100K and REPLENS. And those 2 really give you a good, solid knowledge on how to do this business. But yeah, I got my first sale September 11th. Never forget.
Significant day for a fireman.
Yeah,
exactly. Day of celebration and remembrance for sure, right?
Right.
Wow.
Yep. And wow, that when you get your first sale, it just feels so good.
Nothing like it. Yeah.
There's so much that led up to that, so much learning on like how to, list and prep and send in, and so that was really encouraging. Also, the advanced Keepa training by Brian Olson was something I was like, wow, you can do this. It's just the more you learn, the more you're like, wow, this is like doable, and it's not as complicated as you think. So now it's been, I guess, 6 or 7 months. But all right, let's see. Let's look at my notes.
Well, you made a decision. You watched a video, private label. And for those who've listened to many episodes of this program, you've heard me say many, many, many times, new sellers should never go down the private label path. Your odds of success are at best 5%. That's right. As a new seller, at best 5% of the time. Spending thousands of dollars, actually $1,500 for that course would have been one of the least expensive courses in the private label niche. in months of work, in many cases, tens of thousands of dollars spent. But I'm curious if we could just revisit that decision point, because you watched a 5-hour video. That's a pretty serious commitment. And then they had this course. What was it that kind of tipped the scale for you to say, you know what, I think I'm going to wait, because I'm not anti-private label.
Right.
I'm anti-private label for new sellers.
Right.
So you were a new seller. So I would have done everything I can to convince you and tip you in this direction of like, slow down. Let's go where the low-hanging fruit is. Let's wade into this thing, put some money in the bank as you learn.
Right.
Was there something that convinced you? I'm always kind of looking, this is for my own sake, and maybe for someone who's listening to this going, wait, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm considering this whole private label thing. Talk me through your decision there.
So actually I had my first call with, the woman that you call for like a coaching.
Oh yeah. We've only got one consultant that's female on our team. So I know you're talking about Deborah.
Yeah. She's amazing, by the way.
Super sweet. Yeah. Been with me a long time too.
Yeah. So when I was on the phone with her, I said I wanted to get into private label, and, she was like, well, that's a pretty big investment. Like if you are going to be successful, which, we don't necessarily recommend that for new sellers, you're probably going to need around like $10,000 ish, to really do it right.
Minimum, with no guarantees it's going to work out.
Right. And then, so after that, I just kept listening to your podcast, and you kept saying that, this is the best way to start with the REPLENS. And so I listened to that. I was like, you know what, this has to be true. So
yeah, you hear all the guests saying the same thing. And I think the most compelling evidence that we have to offer, not just my opinion or me observing, but listen to the podcast guests, so many of them, dozens of them over the past couple of years alone, who say, yeah, I went down the private label road. Didn't really work out. Got a garage full of stuff I can't sell. I spent $25,000 and I don't know what I'm going to do with all that inventory. But REPLENS model has renewed my hope. It's like, why not just start there? Just start there with the low-hanging fruit model. Okay, great. Yeah. Well, I just wanted to get that out there, how you went through that process. So it sounds like Deb saved you a good chunk of change there.
Yeah. And, I didn't really have a whole lot of extra money to throw down and throw into this anyways. So, it was almost not even an option. Once I kind of learned that that's how much it takes, and it's a high risk. And I actually even got a loan from my dad for $5,000 just to really get this going. Once I learned a little bit more, and I put it all like pretty much into inventory. And I think I might have done it a little too soon, because I did make some buys that were like, I was getting a little trigger happy on my buys, and
sure.
I was still a little new. So like for new sellers, for people that are trying to get into this, I personally recommend like really get it down, like get to a point where, and I'm still trying to get to this point where I'm very confident in my sourcing and the ability to find profitable ASINs, where I can't afford to even buy all of them. I'm still like trying to get really confident before I look for maybe more funding. I think I'm really close. But I'm not in a rush. I'm not trying to replace my firefighter career or anything, but I'm trying to set myself up so I can maybe retire like earlier than I would have, and have this business to work on after that.
Very healthy perspective, a long-term perspective,
right?
And taking your time. Sometimes I think it's almost can be to your detriment to have a large pool of cash, like in that feeling of like, all right, this is my business investment, I'm going to spend it all on this business, and you can go a little too aggressively, a little too quickly into wading into those waters. It's
exactly
kind of your desire to succeed quickly outpaces your abilities to make good decisions, and you can find yourself buying some inventory, because that really is the game,
right?
You make your money when you buy your inventory, as we say around here. If you're not buying good inventory, all you've done is create a future headache for yourself.
Exactly.
That's the game. That's what we pride ourselves on being really good at is saying no to all the bad inventory and yes to only those that you have a very high level of confidence in going after.
Right.
I think that's the journey you're on. And happy to dig into the weeds with you too, because I think that's where a lot of people find themselves, Ted, is I'm kind of good at this, but here's some mistakes I've made. And those mistakes shape you too. So they're not necessarily a bad thing as long as they're not huge, expensive mistakes.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of one of the challenges is having that patience, where like you don't see your like a lot of your profit right away. Like it takes a while for your money to turn.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like always trying to learn more, especially like in the beginning. Like you just gotta you gotta get it down. And I know these are what I probably should have paid for instead of inventory was I probably should have paid for the coaching program.
You'll get there and you'll be able to
Yeah.
pay for that all cash at some point in the near future. I'm more concerned about the trajectory versus the order that you do things in.
Right.
The trajectory.
Yeah.
Right. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because people ask me all the time, oh, should I get coaching early or should I wait till I've kind of got it down? I'm like, ultimately, where you will be 5 years from now, coaching today versus coaching 6 months from now doesn't make that huge of a difference. It's more trajectory.
Right.
Right. Are you growing slowly? Are you making better decisions consistently? Coaching will speed that up a little bit, whether you do it now or then. You might get a slightly different coach, a newbie friendly coach versus how to scale from $30,000 to $50,000 a year coach. Right. Like those are different skill sets, but they're both going to keep you on a nice trajectory. So a long-term commitment to the process, willingness to continually learn, continually test, expanding your relationships. A coach is going to speed things up when you're ready for it. But we've had plenty of people, that it's actually another Indianapolis guy that's come to mind who did it for a while himself and then got a coach. He was a chiropractor, my aunt's chiropractor, actually. And he waited till he had the profits, the proceeds from, he started with $200, rolled it over. He had some profit in the bank now. I think at the point he had $10,000 or so. It's like, I'm going to use some of that and I'm going to get a coach. And then things took off to another level from that. But he never tapped into borrowed funds, or he just kind of let his business pace for itself. And I can definitely respect that.
Yeah.
That's a nice pace. That's a nice trajectory. That's understanding time's on your side as you're learning these new skills.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Don't beat yourself up, man. It'll still be there when you're ready.
Yep. Yep. 100%. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing the amount of like support and information that you can get from the Amazon or from the Facebook community. Also, my local meetup, which is where I actually met you the first time.
Where I met you, man. Yeah, that was cool. I don't attend those very often, but the one I was at here most recently, you were there, and I think was that your first time there?
That was my first time.
Yeah, so that was mine too. I think. Had I been once before, maybe? Yeah, but I don't make it all that often.
Yeah.
But I love the group is big enough that those little organic meetups have kind of happened all over the country of e-commerce listeners to this program, basically members of our free Facebook group, kind of forming local connections through our Facebook group and finding out who lives near them. And let's get together for lunch every couple of weeks or so and kick around some ideas. Yeah, that's great. So it was certainly a pleasure meeting you.
Yeah. Actually, so I don't know. Well, I think I heard you recommend this book on the podcast. And then I think you also mentioned it in person, but the Business Secrets from the Bible.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I've got my copy right there. I can see mine. It's just out of arm's reach.
Yeah. I loved that. It was really eye-opening.
Awesome.
I mean, this whole getting into this program, I was kind of lost, just like in my life. And honestly, I kind of feel like you coming into my life was like God kind of coming into my life a little bit. And it's been like really, really life changing. Like I'm excited every day to like work on this and
wow.
Be a part of this community. And it's really like breathed in a lot of life and like positivity and, turning into the person that I've always kind of imagined my like potential to be, that I
That's
hadn't really
awesome,
been
Dad.
meeting
I,
before. So
I love to hear that. I didn't realize it had been that significant for you, but I
yeah.
know that so many of the leaders on our team consider this a ministry. We pray for God to send us the people who most need what we have, that we can most help, in other words, that they
Hmm.
will come into this community, that they will be impacted, and not that they will come to love us, that's a cool side benefit, but that they
Yeah.
will become the person that God designed them to be. The man,
Hmm.
the husband, the mom, the wife, the mother, the father, the friend, the accomplishments, and so many, especially younger men I know, are just striving for, like, I know there's got to be more. I'm capable of more. I don't want to settle for
Right.
this. I want to do something, not so I can be considered important and special and big, but just something significant, something bigger than me. And they
Right.
find that to a degree through
Yeah.
business and those relationships and those people who are doing life at a different pace with they're excited about life. They're looking
Yeah.
forward to Mondays
Right.
instead of, when's Friday going to get here, and
Yeah.
that's it, really.
Hmm.
That's kind of when I know the switch has flipped, when people are excited about Mondays
Yeah.
instead of
Yeah. No,
excited about
right.
Fridays.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just started a dry month, a little over a week ago. And on top of that and this, I'm like, I'm really glad that I'm not, drinking right now, and like,
Good, man.
you know, putting all of my time and energy like into this, and just things that I feel like are
Mm,
more important now.
that's
I'm just
beautiful.
starting to grow up a little bit. I'm 31 years old.
Mhm.
So it's been an exciting change over the last, since I found your community and stuff. So
Oh, that does my heart good, man. There's several leaders. I'm going to make sure that they hear this episode too, because that's why we do what we do.
yeah.
And I don't know if you knew this about my family's history, but they're very active and involved in recovery, and so, not to sign any negatives. There's plenty of people that can handle alcohol in a healthy way.
Hmm.
I'm not surrounded by many of them, but I know that happens. But I also
Right.
know a lot of people. There's this switch that flips, and suddenly they find themselves in very unhealthy territory, and it
Right.
gets very dangerous very quickly and life altering in a negative way. And so,
Hmm.
my parents' history of decades just recovery.
Yeah.
There's an organization called Celebrate Recovery. It's a Christians Alcoholics Anonymous, basically. Up until my dad passed a couple years ago, he was very involved, but now my mom runs one of the largest chapters in Indiana. So it's a topic near and dear to my heart. So when I hear guys like, yeah, I don't need that stuff as much as I thought, I'm going to take a break from it, or I'm going to quit, or whatever,
Yeah.
it always does my heart good.
Yeah.
That's perhaps a story for another day, but
Yeah. For sure.
I've seen the damage it can do. Let's just leave it at that. And so I know you becoming a healthier, stronger version of yourself, wiser, making great choices, building a business, getting out of bed with a renewed energy, on
Yeah.
top of already having very meaningful work, obviously, but you're
Right.
looking to expand in the right direction. So I love hearing that
For
from
sure.
a young man. I mean, I've got 20 plus years on you, so I can call you a young man, right?
Yeah.
Uh, that's awesome, dude. Super proud to be playing a small role in all of that. Love to hear
Yeah.
it. Thanks for your transparency too. I appreciate that.
Yeah. No problem. Also, I just wanted to mention this real quick. After I met you and you recommended that business secrets from the Bible,
Yeah.
um, I made this shirt. It says "God, ancient Jewish wisdom."
A shout out to Lap.
Yeah.
I love it.
And yeah, I
That's
was going to
great.
give that to you if
Mhm.
you, whenever you showed up again, if you were going to.
Oh yeah, well,
But
absolutely.
yeah, I'll have to
Yeah.
find a way to get that to you.
Who's going to love that shirt is me, and who's going to roll her eyes is my wife, because I can't shut up about. Somehow I always turn every conversation back into, there's actually a biblical principle there, ancient Jewish wisdom. It's not common sense either. And she's like, here we go. So now you're going to be creating even more of those conversations in my life. Yeah. For those who don't know about the book that Ted mentioned, Business Secrets from the Bible, by my good friend Rabbi Daniel Lapin. He's an Orthodox Jewish rabbi. I'm a Christian. Your worldview really doesn't matter. You can absorb timeless biblical lessons, timeless truths, I should say, from the Hebrew culture that have just proven over and over and over again. And it's not common sense stuff, right, Ted? I mean, it's like, wow, I've never thought of that
Right.
before, but there it is, a principle from the oldest book in world history that's proven time and time and time again. And I've never even seen the world that way before. And it does, it challenges you. And I found it challenging me in shaping me into the type of leader I became in many ways. I'm not going to dive into it now, but yeah, it's a great book. I always put that on like top 2 or 3 recommended books of when someone's like, hey, I'm thinking about being more entrepreneurial. I want to start a successful business. I want to get my mind right about business and money. And if you're open to a biblical perspective on those things, man, that book is tremendous.
Yes, 100%.
Do you have any lessons that stood out? Not to put you on the spot, but did anything jump off the page at you that you've kind of underlined or highlighted that off the top of your head? And if not, that's fine. But I'm just curious. You said the book was significant to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the like just helping others in any way that you can is kind of a big thing, and like having that abundance mindset, which you talk about all the time. Just if you can help someone and like build those relationships, I think that's something that you also mention a lot. Is I think that's huge. Just not being alone in your journey and building the relationships by helping others, and it always comes back to you. And that's something that I don't know, I guess I didn't really think about as much before that book.
Being more intentional about it. Yeah. Exactly. Always be expanding that list of people that know, like, and trust you. And that requires time, effort, and energy, and accountability, and availability, and proximity. Even one of my favorite words in the internet era is proximity. It's hard to disciple or get really close to somebody or really hold each other accountable if it's all done virtually or by email or text or whatever. Social media has kind of pulled a lot of that away. So to the degree that you can begin to embrace those face-to-face encounters and, those lunches like the one that we met each other at, a lot can happen very quickly. And Lappin shares, that's one of the principles he shares, and there's just the speed of trust that accelerates when there's proximity, when you're in the same room together at the same time. You can read body language, which is 80% of communication. And females know this. Guys were a little slower to absorb, like, what? It's the same thing for me to read a text versus a dude say it to me to my face. It's the exact same thing, right? It's like, no, it's not. It's not the same thing at all.
Right.
The communication of body language and attitude and even the vibe that you can tell, man, this person's having a rough day, man. I need to ask him if he's okay. You can't pick that up from a text or from an email or even from a Zoom necessarily. So there's the value of that. And that's why we've intentionally in our Facebook group, for example, this is one of the principles from the book, Ted, where we encourage people, find out who lives near you in this group. Here's how to do it. Get together with them. Don't do this alone. The Bible says it was not good for man to be alone, talking about Adam and Eve. He wasn't just talking about marriage, man and a woman. He was saying it's not good for any of us to be in isolation for extended periods of time. It'll crush your soul. You'll find yourself far weaker and accomplishing far less with your life. You need to be around other people. So thanks for letting me spend a little bit of time on my favorite business book outside the Bible itself. That book really unpacks some great lessons. One other thing I'll say about it, Ted, you got me started. It's your fault, but is the Bible has 2 to 3 times, depending on how you measure it, 2 to 3 times more to say about money and business than it does love and prayer combined. It's just full of very practical money and business wisdom. So to ignore that at your own peril, I will say, regardless of worldview again. But thanks for letting me spend some time on that and for bringing it up. And I will definitely take you up on that shirt. That is a cool shirt. Got ancient Jewish wisdom. Lappin has been to our live event a few times as our keynote, and fully intend to see if he's available to speak at other future events as well. So you may get a chance to meet him if you come to one of our events.
Do we have the location down yet?
You know what? You're the third person today that's asked me that. That's hilarious. And by the time this episode airs, it very well may be announced publicly because we're very close to doing that. But we know the dates, July 6th through 8th, 2023. We know it's Midwest. And actually, yes, I do know the hotel, but we're not sharing that publicly yet because we're getting the discount link set up and all that. So that's all going to be out there very soon. But I can tell you this, as an Indianapolis guy, man, the drive's not too bad. I'll tell you that. I can give you that hint.
All right, good. Well, I hope to be there.
Man, I'd love to. I would absolutely love to have you there. And since you were a guest on the show, registration's on me. So when you see it come up, man, just shoot me a quick note. You got my text from our communication today, or at least, yeah, we've texted each other. So just say, hey,
Right.
so I'll take us one on sale. I'll hook you up, man. Way
Yeah,
of saying
awesome.
thanks. Appreciate you
Sweet.
serving the community.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Well, let's dive back into your story, man. So tell me
Okay.
a little bit more specifics. What's working? What have you tried? Do you want to spend some time talking about some things that you're struggling with? Take it from here. Let's make good use of the time.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see here.
Or whatever else you had.
Yeah. So, so I kind of lucked into getting a VA that was actually from your program. This will speak to how I don't know, strict or like well trained, or the expectation that comes out of the proven VA program.
Yeah. Provenreplensva.com. I'll stick a link in the show notes. Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys train VAs, and then we can essentially buy one, and then you pay them like $4 an hour, and they can find replens for you. Well, from being active in the Facebook group, I got a message from a guy, and it was actually right before I was supposed to have a conversation with Kyle Curtis, and he was like, "Hey, I'm a VA. I can like give you a free like week of work, and we can kind of see how this works out." And I was like, all right, so I'm actually about to talk to Kyle Curtis. What's he going to say about you? And he's like, oh, it's okay. You can mention him. And I guess he just had a couple issues with his client. And so he got fired. So like you guys have high expectations for these VAs, which is great. But I didn't have a whole lot of money to invest, and he was offering a free month or a free week, and so I was like, oh, I'll give you a chance, and it's been working out pretty well. But I'm always trying to improve, try and train him a little bit. We're just trying to streamline everything, but so that was nice that I got lucked into him. And so that took a little bit of the pressure off of me having to source all the time. But then I was also not sourcing that much anymore. And so I kind of like lost some of my skill set when it comes to sourcing. So now I'm really focusing on sourcing again. I'm trying to get good at manual sourcing and reverse sourcing. And seeing if I actually need tactical arbitrage anymore, because I found myself using that a little bit less after I took the OA simplified course.
Right.
So yeah, so that was nice. I was getting tired of prepping my own products, and I actually reached out to your prep center.
Our prep center here in Indy.
Yeah. Okay. But that was like maybe 3 or 4 months into my journey, and they're like, and I think you guys require at least like 6 months of experience, which I understand now that I'm at 6 months of experience.
Right.
But that's actually how I got into the local meetup, because I think it was Ruben connected me with UC, and then he, told me about the local meetup. But
okay.
So got the local meetup down, but anyways, so just been learning a lot from them, and, always trying to learn, and then got set up with a prep center in Delaware, and it is a sales tax free state, but I know that there's ways to get around that. It's just like an extra step, and I'm not the most organized person keeping track of stuff, which I'm trying to get better at, because you need to be organized, to be successful. But yeah, I've have my VA send me leads, and then I'll go through the leads. And I'm actually going back through a lot of leads now because I'm not as scared of getting ungated in things. And in most cases, you can just buy 10 units of whatever it is, almost from any source, it seems like.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of going back and not, because he kept sending me stuff that I was gated in, and I was like, don't send me stuff that I'm gated in. But now I'm kind of looking back at some of those because he sends me them all in a spreadsheet, and I'm also going back and rabbit trailing a little bit more and doing a little more manual sourcing as I get better at that. And so all of his leads are a lot more valuable now than they were because I'm just better at finding the replens now.
Yeah, you're better at getting yourself qualified. Ungating it feels like a big mountain to climb when you're new, but you very quickly realize after you've sold a few things, you can get ungated for just about everything unless it's completely locked down. Especially after you've made 40, 50 sales or so, ungating becomes pretty straightforward. So yeah, you're going back through some of those older ASINs that your VA found, finding some winners there, it sounds like.
Yeah. Yep. So, but yeah, with, I guess some of the struggles in the business is just, it can be a little overwhelming. Just balancing all the different aspects, knowing what to focus on. I've recently gotten a business journal, and actually got a free one, a Q1 business journal from Kyle in our little local meetup. And so I'm testing that out, and using a business journal is a game changer, as far as organizing your day and setting goals, being able to mark off, habits that you want to do. And so just learning how to be a more productive human has been something that, it's just a learning process.
Yeah, it reminds me of a quote that I heard from Jim Rohn. I'm pretty sure is the guy that said it. He's a famous business motivational speaker. Have you heard of him, Jim Rohn?
Yeah. Yep.
ROHN. Yeah. He says, set about becoming a millionaire, not so you can have $1 million, but so you can become the kind of person who's capable of having $1 million.
Yeah.
That's worth far more.
Right.
Doesn't that make sense?
Oh my gosh.
It's not about 100%. Having that certain amount of money in the bank. Like, yeah, that's great. I mean, maybe I'll buy some nice things. Cool. But the kind of person you have to become to make that journey, like you said, the discipline. There's a reason. This isn't actually another Lapin lesson where he says, isn't it interesting that all the most influential and charismatic and memorable people of history, somehow we can always go back and see what they wrote in their journal. Like their memoirs are published at some point, and these are the things that they did over the course of their life. Is it that famous people just somehow randomly write journals? Or is it that journaling leads you to becoming that kind of person who ends up being noteworthy and influential and have great accomplishments? I'm pretty sure it's the latter. Like, there's something that happens when you start journaling. Your subconscious is now holding you accountable to that ink to paper. Not typing isn't the same. It's ink to paper journaling.
Yeah.
Like, here's the things, here's the things you start your day. Here's the things I'm grateful for. And then you look over the things you want to achieve that day. And at the end of the day, then you write down, here's how I handled the things I expected of myself today. It was a failure in all measurable ways. Today was a disaster. But you write it down. You hold yourself accountable to it. Today was beautiful. The things that I'd hoped would worked out beautifully. And here's why. And here's the lesson from 3 months ago. I did X, Y, and Z, and it's finally paying off. And you can flip through that. One is a record of your achievements. But the thing I think is more powerful is your subconscious kind of sets about tackling those things that you committed, pen to paper, that very physical act of writing them down. Suddenly your brain's working when you don't even realize it. Behind the scenes. And you're motivated and you find inspiration from places where you didn't know you would see it. I guess it's kind of hard for me to verbalize the power of it, but until you've tried it, don't knock it. I'd love to hear you say that. It's one of the things we encourage all of our coaching students to do. If you didn't know, is journal, business journal specifically, separate just for your business. And, what's working? What are you grateful for in the morning? At night, here's the things I'd hoped to get done that I didn't quite get done. Here's what I really want to try to knock out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Get up the next day, do it again. Start with gratitude, end with here's how it went today, and here's what I want to do tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm always excited to sit down on my computer, and ideally I like to put my, to-do list and kind of rank priorities the night before. And then so when I wake up, I can just look at it and without having to, think about it and use all that brain energy to figure out what you need to do.
Yeah.
It's already there and you're ready to go.
Yeah. And if you commit to it right before you sleep, your brain's already organizing, even though you don't realize it.
Yeah.
Kind of organizing your day for you.
Yeah. So and you can kind of stop thinking about it and help you get to sleep.
There's a great book called Getting Things Done. I can never remember the author for some reason, but it talks about that, getting your brain to that place where you don't have to remember things. Your brain isn't built to remember tiny details of like, oh, at 3:00 today, I got to do this. And oh, this piece of paper, I'm going to need it August 14th. Where do I put it? I got to just leave it right in the middle of my desk, I guess. And, you just find yourself kind of cluttering with stuff you have to remember. And that book very methodically makes sure that you can live at peace knowing right now, I'm not forgetting anything. And 2 hours from now, when important things are happening that I need to be ready for, I'm going to get warnings for that. I'm going to get reminders, and I'm going to have what I need in hand at the right time.
Yeah.
To be very productive. Getting this is another Daniel Lapin thing. I find myself quoting him all the time, and it's not him. This is ancient Jewish wisdom. This is biblical truth. But he says that the great secret to success in life, if you had to boil it down to one, there's many. He doesn't like cliches, but he said if he had to pick one, it would be do what must be done when it must be done.
Yep.
That's it. Right. And
I was actually about to bring that
up.
In
a firefighting department, you're fully aware of that. Like the worst thing that could happen, I got to imagine, is you get a serious call at 3 a.m. You guys are scrambling, like rolling hoses and where's my boots? Where did I leave my boots? Like, that's a disaster. Those extra 45 seconds or 6 minutes could be someone's baby that doesn't live. Like, so preparation is built in to everything. Like, I mean, I even love, like, I run, and we run past a fire department, one of the newer locations here. And every time I go by there, the doors are open on the truck. Like, I've got to imagine that's like, we don't waste any time opening the door.
Yeah.
Hop in and shut the door. Opening the door takes 3 seconds. Those 3 seconds could be the difference between someone making it and someone not, right? Like, is that what's behind that? I'm just kind of guessing.
Yeah. I mean, there's no reason.
Little things.
Yeah, just little inefficiencies that you kind of get out of the way. And, we got our boots there. We're ready to hop in, get going. If it's, sometimes you just have to get all of your gear on the way there because it's faster to do it inside the truck than before you get in it and everything.
That's what I'm always telling my wife about her makeup too. It's like, hey, we got a half-hour drive. Come on, let's go.
Same thing.
Right. No, I love it. But those skills are going to serve you well in this. Is that precise? Is like, why put this off till tomorrow? I can check the box today quickly, efficiently. It's on the top of my mind. I don't have to spend my night worrying about it. Or you set yourself reminders. I've become a huge fan of using my own text. I text myself a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to have to commit this to memory. I'm going to text myself a note right now. Then I'll go back through all my text notes at a later point and make sure I've hit all these things. And email reminders, you can set an email reminder for yourself on a certain date. Maybe it's an ASIN. I've done this many times. I look at an ASIN and I'm like, that's just, I don't know. I'm going to revisit this one in a month. What do you do with that? I send myself an email scheduled for a month from now. It's just that ASIN. It's like, hey, check this one out again.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
so you learn the power of that. So you don't have to remember anything.
Yeah.
Getting Things Done is the book that kind of got me disciplined thinking that way.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to ask you if you had any more book recommendations.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a top 20 for me, not necessarily a top 2 or 3, but that's a top 20 for sure.
Okay.
Just kind of organizing yourself, and especially being a disciplined guy like you have to be for your career. You'll appreciate that one for sure. You may even find some ways to do things differently at the station. Who knows? But I imagine most of that's probably pretty dialed in at this point. But there's anytime, if anyone has to remember anything, they're not doing it right.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry for the short interruption, but you're going to love what I have to share with you. Let's talk about Seller Board. As an Amazon seller, do you know your numbers? Are you tracking your profit and loss by ASIN, cost of goods sold? How accurate are your numbers? Seller Board helps you get extremely accurate. Starting at just $15 per month, you can know when to buy products, when not to buy products, which ones are profitable, which ones aren't. You can really start to dial in your Amazon business. Get over to silentjimdotcom/numbers and check out the latest fantastic sponsor to this program. So many Amazon sellers in our community are using it. I'm thrilled that they've become a sponsor of this program. Thanks, Seller Board. Go check out their offer, silentjim.com/numbers. You'll appreciate that one for sure. You may even find some ways to do things differently at the station. Who knows? But I imagine most of that's probably pretty dialed in at this point. But there's anytime, if anyone has to remember anything, they're not doing it right.
Yeah. Yep. I love whenever I'm watching, this podcast and there's like some nugget that comes out and I need to like investigate it further. I'll just ask Siri to remind me to look this up or whatever. And then I'll go through my reminders and, actually investigate whatever it is that I feel is valuable to me. So,
or you can ask Siri to create a voice memo for you too. Like I do that a lot. If it's a complex thing, I want to try to remember at any given time, I'm writing multiple books that are kind of slowly being pieced together without having to memorize all that. I've really tapped it, and I'm not great at it, but I'm pretty good at it. Just kind of capturing those thoughts, those random moments that, you're like, oh, I need to remember this next time I'm talking to this person, that type of stuff. You'll appreciate that book. You'll enjoy it.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I want to hear a little bit more about specifics on your business, how it's going. Something triggered us to bring it. Like you're new. I mean, you don't have an amazing success story to blow everyone's mind, but you've had some success. What have you found? What has worked? How's that going? Let's spend some time there.
Honestly, I've just been, taking some of the leads that I've been getting. I also did a lot of the tactical arbitrage. So I've basically done all OA. I've tried retail arbitrage a little bit, and I don't know if it's necessarily for me. I like being able to work from my laptop, which, I would like to get more into at some point, but OA right now is just what I'm doing. But yeah, so like I've done since that September when I got my first sale, I've done just under 20 grand in sales. And it did pick up, in December, and I got a lot of sales the first week of January, but part of that was because I've tried several different repricers, and sometimes I felt like they were, I don't know, you have to learn how to use a repricer. And Be Cool was frustrating for me, but I also just didn't know the expectations on how to use it correctly. So I kept putting my my maximum so my max price, I would just have it go too high. And so I'd get all these pricing errors and stuff. And I also wanted to just bulk min and max, make it my ROI bulk min and max. But and I think there's a way to do that. But I've recently, I tried Profit Protector Pro, and I try and have the minimum be like a dollar or two under the buy box, and then the maximum be like maybe $4, $5, $6 over it, depending on the product and how many sellers there are on it. But when I did that, and part of it was me trying to purge some of my inventory because it wasn't really selling. But I had a few big days, and that's when I like shared some of my results on my Facebook and on the group's Facebook. But yeah, and that's actually when you reached out to me and you're like, "Hey, do you want to be on the podcast?"
Right. Okay. So that's how we connected for this conversation but some results you were getting from your repricer. Well, yeah, you can easily get in over your head fast as a new seller with repricer, kind of digging into all the possible. I mean, there's just so many features, and I'd like to see newer sellers spend time repricing on their own, so they kind of have an appreciation for what is it repricer could and should be doing for them. Just kind of keeping an eye on things. If you've got some slower moving inventory, kind of manually making the decision, it's time to move on. You wait a month or so at a price that's good for you. If it's not selling, that's when you transition that ASIN over into like, all right, time to get rid of these units. And hopefully you only have a few because you're testing very shallow, right? But I think something that I would advise a guy who's in your position to be paying a little more attention to is the number of drops per month on the ASINs that you're listing. Instead of settling for anything that's like in that 8 to 12 or 15 or even 20 drops a month, maybe you look for stuff that's dropping more aggressively. Which may have more sellers with it, associated with it. But your odds of actually making a successful sale on a regular basis goes up dramatically. On say those 40 to 50 drops a month ASINs. So does that make sense to you as I kind of talk through that?
Oh, for sure.
And some of those slower moving ASINs, what do you think your mistake was?
Well, I think,
or were they just tests that didn't turn out?
So I did test out a leads list for a little bit, and I suckered myself into buying some of the things from the leads list, and of course they tank. But I mean, even rabbit trailing off of some of those, a lot of other people are doing the same thing, and so some of those just kind of tanked, and then I was also, like I said, I was a little trigger happy on buying whatever, even if I was like, it's nice, it's good enough profit. Screw it, we'll buy it. But something that Travis from the local meetup said that he does with his VA, that he waits a few weeks before he buys them. And that was like, what? Like, really? Like, you're missing out. But so I tried that, and I just started buying after waiting for a few weeks, buying the leads that I'm sent. And I'm hoping that will help, because I have ran through a few that I'm like, wow, it's a good thing I didn't buy that. Because, you never really know for sure exactly where your VA is getting the leads. I mean, but I mean, my VA is a great guy, and I trust him. But it's nice to have that little extra level of being sure that it's, consistent price and everything. So
yeah. And I don't know, nor do I need to know who that VA is. He was someone that was released from our VA training program. So he's, there was a reason behind that. I don't know what it is again. But you can't be overly cautious in analyzing. And I love the tip that Travis gave you. Wait a few weeks. If you suspect that some of the replens that you're considering are from a list that other sellers are seeing, possibly many other sellers are seeing at the same time you are, just go back and look at the stuff that you received a couple months ago. How's it doing? And you can start to very quickly see if it's a pattern. Everything that I'm getting 2 months later is swamped. It's on a list. And whoever it is providing that to you, it's probably on a list of some kind that's being provided to a bunch of other sellers. It's kind of the law of averages. Like, Yeah, that I can expect that to happen sometime, but it happens all the time because there's plenty of people out there who rely very heavily on a buy list. They don't want to do any research. They don't even want to look at Keepa. They just see, oh, this ASIN's on a list. Here's the store. Here's the price. I'm going to go buy it. It sold recently for more money than that, so I'm in. Pour a bunch of money in. So there's always that wave of stupid money that's kind of rolling through Amazon of people that just bought bad inventory. And if you're kind of caught in that wave, you're going to struggle. You want to get out of the crowd, finding your own ASINs, your own opportunities, your own relationships, even your own distributors.
Right.
Not that it's things that other people can never find, but it's not in front of the crowd. You don't want to be out there with the crowd, follow the herd, get slaughtered kind of thing. Yeah, go off over here on your own.
Right.
Do a little bit of your own research and, call some brands, get some unique advantages. And that's why I know you've shied away from retail arbitrage, but one of the advantages of buying it off of a local store shelf is, the inventory is right there if you need it. And a lot of times the retail stores will have stuff that you just can't get online.
Yeah.
It's impossible to find.
Right.
So there's some advantages there to spending a little bit of time. Don't spend hours in stores. Some people think that I got to drive to 50 stores in a day. No, one store, one section of the store.
Yeah.
Once a week or so when I'm there shopping anyway.
Yeah.
I got a few replens there. And you'll find there's Walmarts that are very close to you and I, where my team and, same with Target, same with Kroger, same with Menards, same with, Lowe's. I could list, there's replens just sitting right there anytime you want to go grab them.
Yeah.
That you'd struggle to source online necessarily.
Right.
Similar consistency. Those are just some tips for you. I'm not saying shift your whole strategy.
Yeah.
But look for stuff with more drops. I would encourage you there, because it sounds like you've been hopping on some listings that there's either a lot of other people looking at, or it doesn't sell fast enough. You kind of find yourself sitting there. It's like, man, I've had this for 2 months now and I haven't sold. Well, there's only one thing that causes that, and that's a slow moving ASIN.
Right.
And sometimes you get too excited looking at the price, like, oh, the buy box is $50 and I can get it for $25. I'm going to jump on it. Well, it only drops 3 times a month.
Yeah.
You could have that thing for 6-8 months before it sells.
Right. Yeah. And that's another reason why I'm trying to get more into the manual sourcing is, one, if I do start doing the retail sourcing, like I can rabbit trail a lot better. And, like what you say, look up the brand and the product. And, there could be so many different ASINs with one product, and just really exhausting those options before you move on.
Yeah. And get your VA doing that too. Right.
Yeah.
Because that's easy to monitor progress on that.
Yeah. So
you'll see a bunch of you'll see the same brand on several ASINs.
Yeah. That's a good idea. Take pictures of, either have him do OA, or I could take pictures of stuff on shelves and have him go through it too.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
And then he's doing work just for you. That's one way to guarantee that your VA is working just for you, is store pictures.
Yeah. That's a good idea. Okay.
Well, what other questions did you have for me, if anything? I know you had some notes. Was there anything we could go over to be as helpful as possible in this? And you're doing great, by the way, because in the big, just, take a big picture vantage point for a second while you think about what other topics you want to talk about. Starting a business always has meant and always will mean a period of intense focused effort, a struggle at the beginning, new things to learn, feeling like it's not necessarily going all that well.
Yeah.
And then the compounding effect of these lessons you've learned, and suddenly you're making fewer, for lack of a better word, dumb decisions, and suddenly you're making more wise decisions, and that caution starts to pay in your favor, starts to tip in your favor. Now you're profitable. That's the journey.
Yeah.
That's, we see the bright, shiny opportunities online, and like how to make $1,000 per day starting 30 days from now, we'll teach you everything you need to know. It's like, no, That's all garbage, man. There's no one out there really doing that. There's people selling courses, convincing people that they can do that, but those people are asking for refunds later because it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Destroying their reputation and creating zero success stories. The reality of business is it's a journey, it's work. You haven't put a ton of money into this yet. You've put some time, learned some valuable lessons. You're on a good trajectory. Stick with it. You're positioned extremely well.
Yeah.
You've learned what not to do, which is just as important to know as what to do.
Yeah.
So I'm fully confident in where you'll be soon. You've had some good days and some good weeks. You've seen proof of concept. It's just a matter of tweaking your processes a little bit.
Yep.
All right. So as long as you're on board with all that, man, you're going to be in a great place 6 months from now, a year from now. You're heading in a beautiful direction, and that you will start to notice doors opening more for you now. You're at that point where it certainly will be happening for you. But what else is on your mind, buddy? What else you got on your list, if anything?
Well, I was going to ask you, like, what your, like, if you have any wisdom to impart on your, like, maybe daily routine or something that helps. And I know we kind of already went over that with the business journal or whatever, but that's kind of a lot of it, what I've been working on, because I feel like I know a lot of what I need to do. And, some of it is just learning more and just keep getting nuggets from, listening to the podcast or YouTube videos or whatever. But then, you just need to put it all into practice. But do you have any advice on your
Well, my routine will look a little different from a REPLENS Amazon business results vantage point, because I don't touch a lot of the day-to-day parts of my business. I've got a warehouse near here where 3 of my family members are any given day, along with a handful of other people who work for me. And they're basically running this business, doing the stuff that we teach here, plus a prep center, plus selling on eBay and Facebook Marketplace and Walmart and all that. So we've, but I'm not the guy box on the tape. I'm capable of finding replens. I kind of take pride in my ability to do those things. But my daily routine isn't necessarily so much the routine that you need if you're starting off launching a replens business. I would argue, though, that it's a pretty dialed in, healthy routine to the degree that I stick with it. I'm not a super disciplined, like, hey, 4:02, I'm eating my eggs. 4:07, I'm drinking my smoothie. 5:30, I'm running. No, but you look at I don't do life that way. I'm more of I let my family's mood and my family's needs and even the weather and, like, hey, it's a beautiful day. My whole calendar just got pushed back to tomorrow. Right. So I do have that flexibility now because I've worked hard over a long period of time. When I was your age, it was much more of a bang, bang, bang discipline. I could tell you what I'd be doing at Tuesday at 3:07.
Yeah.
I've earned my way into that flexibility, but the same disciplines are still important in regards to how you start your day. And I know you're a fitness guy, and I want to talk about that calendar too. I don't know on that note, but so staying in shape. And I take those important areas of life, those 5 important areas of life that you hear Lappin talking about so often: faith, family, friends, finances, fitness, right? Like, you can't just work on 1 or 2 or 3 and ignore 1 or 2 or 3 of the others. No, the way you do anything is the way you do everything.
Yeah.
I'm very much into that philosophy. It's very biblical, I believe, as well. And you can see the results of it. There's not many people who just thrive in just one area without just eventually the other areas that they ignore dragging down that one area that they're supposedly successful in, right?
Yeah.
So with all that being said, to a very otherwise very simple question. You've got to start your mornings out with gratitude. For me, it's gratitude for God. I mean, literally the first conscious thought I have upon waking in the morning, whether I write it down or not, is, wow, thank you, God, for this, for whatever random things I can think of, that my legs work when I swing them over the bed. I know guys that don't have that anymore, right? I can stand up and nothing hurts. Praise God, man. I can, and just like, so gratitude. And then for me, it's time in the Word, time in prayer. Again, when I'm being disciplined about it. Otherwise, I'll even just think these thoughts. I like to get out and get on a run. So I like to keep my mornings very open. When people schedule stuff with me, very rarely am I available before like noon for anything. I keep my mornings super flexible. And that's when my day kind of starts to take shape in my mind. And the night before, I've already written or thought through. But now I don't really assign the order of importance until I look at my calendar and then kind of think through based on how my morning's going and what the family needs are. Here's the things I'm going to try to tackle today. Jeff Bezos says I try to make 1 or 2 really good decisions every day. Like, this guy's one of the richest men to ever walk the planet. Business, and that's his philosophy of business. I try to make 1 or 2, at most 3 good decisions a day. Like, we put too much pressure on ourselves. And so on this topic, because sometimes, especially with younger guys, what they're looking for is, and I'm not saying you are, but like, I want to hit, like, here's the 10 things I got to do every day. Someone tell me, like, and I'll hit those hard and I will go to where that takes me. That's not it. I think we put too much pressure on ourselves for any given day. I think, what was it? I can never remember which book it's from. It's not Tipping Point. But the concept is basically, we put too much pressure on ourselves and the expectation of what we can accomplish in a day. We don't estimate accurately what all we can fit into a single day. And to the degree that we do that, we also underestimate what we can do in a year if our trajectory is correct. That's the healthier place to spend. Like, what's my trajectory? Okay, so I missed a workout today. I missed a run today. Don't beat yourself up. Out of the last 20 times you intended to work out or run, you hit it 17 or 18 times. That's your trajectory. Don't beat yourself up on those days and let that drag you into 3 or 4 days of thinking you're a loser because you skipped a workout, or you cheated on your non-cheat day or whatever with your meals. Don't get so tied into that. But look at it as a timeline. That's where a journal really helps you out too. So whenever someone talks about routine, I transition that over into a trajectory conversation, because I want to see where was I 6 months ago, then 3 months ago. Not yesterday, today, and then what's my plan for tomorrow. Like, we get so now focused, we lose sight of the trajectory. So that's about as much as far as business related. And I like to think of myself as flexible and available for my family any given time. That door that you can see right there, it's shut right now, but that's because Dad's on a podcast. Otherwise, that door is open. That means any of my kids coming and going, my wife needs me for something, I can be distracted away. And I take pride in that. It throws me off, but I'm Dad, and I'm a husband before I'm a business guy. So it's keeping those priorities in check. And as far as talking about routine, it's not like I vanish for 9 hours a day because, I cannot be interrupted. That's important to me too. At certain stages of my business growth, I had to be more focused than I am now to continue the momentum. But the benefit of being disciplined when you're young is you start to kind of hit that, it's not a plateau necessarily, but it takes a lot less work to get that ball up the mountain than it used to. It used to be a steep mountain. It used to feel like that. And now the playing field's kind of tipped, and it feels more like you're kind of rolling almost not quite flat. It'll never be flat. It just takes a lot less work, and you can take more breaks and still accomplish a significant amount. But that's because you've got the relationships, you've got the team, you've minded your trajectory, your habits. And I will say this too, of all the things you could have asked me, Ted, I love that question, and I could talk longer on it, but I won't. But there's a few things that I know really influence, and I love talking to young men, typically, somewhere between half your age and your age, and talking to about a few things, classic wisdom that old guys say. Maybe you've heard these things before, but it's so true. Tell me who you hang out with. I'll tell you your future. Tell me what content you're consuming. I'll tell you where you're heading. Tell me what your habits are. I'll tell you what your life will look like a few years from now. I would add to that, tell me how you treat women. I'll tell you how happy you'll be in your 50s. Like, I don't need to know a lot about you to know a lot about where you're headed. And so the fact that you're asking questions like that is, it's good, man. Spend some time hanging out with guys who are older than you, who kind of have that trajectory. Like, I wouldn't mind being near where that guy is. How do you get there? Good stuff for sure. If I can help you avoid a few mistakes that I made along the way, man, all the better.
I mean, that's something that I've been so grateful is, like, little things like this that I've heard in your podcast throughout. It's been just life-changing for me. And that's why I'm trying to network a lot. I just switched my Instagram name to Teddy_flips. And it's turning into, documenting my journey. And
Yep.
I've found that, sharing stuff like that on social media, whether it's motivational or my results or anything that I'm doing. Like the first time I shared my results, I had like 8 people reach out to me, and one of them, was you asking for me to be on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And, I want to get more people into this. I want to attract other people that are doing the same thing. I love this conversation. I find myself only wanting to talk about my Amazon journey to my other friends that
Yeah.
don't do it and they don't want to necessarily talk about it. So yeah, I'm trying to definitely create some of those relationships where I'm surrounding myself with the people that are doing the same thing that I'm doing. And
I had a interesting, since you brought up the team of Hebrew earlier, and I can always pull a Hebrew lesson out of everything. And just listening to you talk about some of your friends who they're not in the Amazon world, and you find yourself kind of really being drawn in this direction. I was talking to one of my sons just today. There's a text conversation back and forth, but that the word for face, as we're looking at each other's face, you see someone's face. It's plural in Hebrew. It's not a singular like in English. It's he has a face, she has a face. No, in Hebrew, it's a plural, faces, because at any given time, any given moment, interacting with anybody, you've got a different expression, a different countenance, a different, resonance with that person. It's very different to hang out with your wife than it is with your daughter or with your mom, or, they're all females. You'd think, okay, I'm going to look about the same. Like, there's ladies in the room. Okay, this is how we act when there's ladies in the room. No, your relationship is very individualized with every person. Which means we're capable as humans of navigating these like an enormous amount of relationships. Not all super close, tight, intimate, I would cry at their funeral for weeks kind of people. You can only have a handful of those, but you can have relationships with so many people. So you turn the Amazon thing off when you're with these guys. I mean, this is my fireman guys. These are my basketball buddies. These are my running buddies. These are my, and those worlds sometimes overlap and blend a little bit, but we're more than capable of having incredibly high quality relationships in multiple arenas. That's one of the secrets of the Hebrew approach to life is, they keep track. You almost put a number to it. How many people know, like, and trust you?
Yeah.
Like put a number to put names to it. How many people could you call to be like, hey, great to hear from you, man. Yeah. What's the idea? What do you got for me now? Every time I talk to you, I'm motivated, encouraged. There's a great idea. There's a story. Like how many people? And it's sad. I think, when we start to isolate and think, oh, maybe 5, 3 to 5 people maybe on that list. Like, no, that's a sad life, dude. That's just sad. So making a post in a Facebook group, it's suddenly you got 8 new people interacting and corresponding. Yeah, there's an excitement and energy there.
Yeah.
We encourage that.
Yeah. And it's kind of keeping me accountable. And, when I meet people, if I am trying to network a little bit, they can look at my journey that I've documented. They can see that I have some credibility. And so before that, I was always not really a big social media poster person. I always kind of had that like, oh, this like, why do people feel the need to share all of this stuff? Like, is this actually how things are going in their life? Blah, blah, blah.
Oh, and there's some healthy thoughts in there for sure.
Yeah.
It's only useful to the degree that it leads you to real relationships.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I calculate
it.
If it's leading me to real people, real names, people I can eventually talk to, hang out, meet, influence, that whole proximity thing again, right?
Yeah.
Like, or find my people. But if it's just like, hey, everybody, here's what I had for breakfast. Aren't I cool? Like, yeah, that stuff drives me nuts too.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, use it as a tool of leverage to lead you into good, healthy, strong relationships. So, man, there's no reason not to stay in touch with people and keep it in check. It's a tool. It's another resource for you. Well, great question, man. Yeah, it's more routines, and hopefully you found it helpful. I'm certainly not going to write a book on the topic anytime soon, but I know what's worked for me well, and what I coach, and what I share when people ask me that question. You kind of hit it, and I'm very big into staying physically fit, dude. I'm like I'm a runner, and 20, 25 miles a week, and playing ball one day a week, and body weight exercises, so I take care of that for sure. I think it's hard to be healthy in the other areas of life if you're not.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's declining in the important areas of life unless it's getting a lot of attention.
Right.
The entropy, things tending towards chaos, things decaying and breaking up.
Yeah.
In all the important areas of life that requires work.
Yeah.
Relationships, money, your health, they're all the same way.
Yeah.
But on the topic of health, I know you're a healthy guy. I've met you. You take your physical fitness seriously. You're a fireman, and you guys did a calendar. And I'm going to stick a link in the show notes to how people can get it. We're still, as we're recording this, still early January. Hopefully, we'll get this out in time where a 2023 calendar is useful, or if people just want to help out a good cause. But tell me about that, man, because I did see you post that on social media, and you're part of that. Fill me in on that a little bit.
Yeah. So we try to do one every year, and it's a lot of fun, and it goes towards a great cause. Most of the money goes towards the St. Florian Center, and they put on like summer programs for at risk youth that encourage them to be someone positive and do something positive and really get them on that right trajectory in life. It also goes to there's a thing that's called Christmas at the Firehouse, where underprivileged families can come to the firehouse and like get presents and stuff. And so they're really good causes, and it's a lot of fun. And it's pretty funny just being in a fireman calendar.
Yeah, you guys don't take yourself too seriously. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can stick the link in the show notes, but
shoot it over to me and I'll put it in there. But is this an Indianapolis thing, or is it just your?
It's the Indy firefighter calendar. It's not necessarily one department. It's just kind of the area.
Yeah.
But this will be my fourth one that I've been in.
That's great, man. Yeah. Well, congratulations on taking care of yourself and putting that calendar together with those guys and whoever else is involved. Yeah. Happy to spread the word. Maybe you guys will sell a few, even if it's too late for your 2023 calendar, support a good cause and help them burn through whatever extra copies they got. Burn through a fireman calendar. That's kind of fun. I'm sure you guys have some inventory you wouldn't mind moving and turning that into, toys for kids.
Yeah.
And good,
for sure.
Good charity program. So appreciate you mentioning that. All right. Well, anything else on your mind before we start to wrap this up? Did we miss anything that you had on your mind for today?
I guess just some advice is just take action. For anyone, like that's when you start getting excited about it, is when you really truly learn something, is by doing it. And you always mention the just-in-time learning. Learn it as you go, and that's been a big helpful lesson that I learned. Also, I think you mentioned the video speed controller Chrome extension for this podcast might be a little long. You can, for the modules in the class or whatever.
Right. For any video. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Speed things up a little bit. And
I do it on podcasts. I try to stay just south of chipmunk sounding voices because that's funny.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that'll make my voice go higher, because I'm always self-conscious about my deep voice.
No, I'm sure the chicks dig it, man. No worries about that. Yeah, but you get up and some people's laughs are hilarious, man. That high-pitched laugh or whatever, and you're listening to high speed. Yeah, but you go like 1 and 1/4 speed or 1 1/2 speed on a video or an audio content really can change, because our ability to listen, I do know this, is like 18 times faster than our ability to speak. Like we can comprehend really fast words if you're concentrating. So just turn up the speed a little bit and do your workout, go about your day, and you can get through a lot of content really fast. That's a good tip.
Yeah. Also, with your Monday Q&A sessions, this is just a suggestion because I found it really helpful from some YouTube videos I've watched. Is people will host these Q&A, like live Q&As where they're also live sourcing. And when you're just like seeing it done live by someone that, really like knows how to do it, I've found that to be really helpful too. So maybe somebody in the community can do it. Maybe I can do it once.
There's some in the Q4 groups that we've had live sourcing sessions that we've captured and recorded as part of those. So there's some in the Proven Amazon course. Couldn't tell you exactly where to go to get them, but we've done plenty of that where it's just going to the store and taking a picture of a shelf and here's how I'm researching this product. Yeah. But that's great. Yeah. People love the look over the shoulder experience. We've got a handful of that, but that would be a good Monday for me just to, instead of me being on my computer, actually just show maybe a picture and here's the picture I took and here's how we did the research. Yeah. This is a great tip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Other than that, I just thank you for having me on here. Like, I know you always ask people if they want to be on, but I was like, that'd be cool to be on, but I didn't really do it until you asked me, and I was like, oh, now I have to. but
I'm glad you accepted, and we love sharing different stages of the journey. We've got people who are 10 times bigger than you as guests, and we got people who are newer than you as guests, but just sharing that journey. Part of the feedback that we began getting after we did hundreds of these episodes was from people saying, I really like hearing from the new people who haven't quite figured it out all the way. They've got a little momentum, maybe that's cool, but I can more relate to them versus the people who are just doing the $50,000 a month and have built a whole team. Like, I can't relate to that. So I like doing these episodes, just very real, very raw. Here's where I'm at, chipping away at it, fitting it into my life, and feeling great about where it's heading, but not where I want to be quite yet. Those tend to be very useful episodes for folks. So I'm glad you stepped up and volunteered to do this, man. I appreciate that very much.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you.
Thank you, buddy. We'll be seeing you again, man. The indie groups get together and we'll have to hang out, man. Do you do any running?
I don't do as much running. I do more just like weightlifting for the most part. But I stay active.
Maybe I can kick your butt sometime and you can kick my butt sometime. I'm more of a body weight guy. Yeah. So
okay. Yeah.
Come hang out and you kick my butt and I'll make you go on a 5-mile run with me. So get beat by an old dude.
Yeah. Deal. Actually, my brother, another thing that I was going to mention is that I'm a quadruplet. I don't know if you knew that.
No. Wow. Really?
Yeah. And my brother is about to run 50 miles in the Moab, Utah.
Those guys are nuts, man.
Week.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Like the 3-day run or whatever.
He's crazy.
Yeah. He probably thinks you're nuts too, hitting like, you don't know what you're missing, man. The runner's got it right, dude.
Right. Exactly. So, but it's fun to stay healthy, keep challenging yourself.
You're well positioned. You've got everything you need, the community, the mindset. You're on a great trajectory. So if I can do anything for you, buddy, I'm here, man.
I appreciate it.
All right, Ted. I'm going to talk to the listeners and wrap this one up. Thanks for hanging out with Ted and I today. We had a great chat. Hopefully you enjoyed hanging out. If you enjoy this kind of thing, where it's a host talking to one of our students, in some cases, like I said, they build amazing, massive businesses that blow us all away. And in some cases, it's people who are starting their journey and everything in between. We've got hundreds of those episodes at silentjimdotcom. Go check them out. If you're new around here, listen to 15, 20 episodes. You'll get a good feel for what it is we do here. But on behalf of the whole podcast team and my great guest, Ted, once again, thank you, buddy. Send me that link to the calendar. Okay, man?
Yep, will do.
We'll stick out in the show notes. And everyone else who puts this show together, thanks to our great team. God bless all the business building warriors out there. We'll have another great episode for you again very soon. Hey, thanks for listening today. Before I let you go, one last announcement. I want to remind you about our great sponsor, Sellerboard. Get to silentjim.com/numbers. And you'll see the special offer they have for you. Starting at just $15 per month, you can get the most accurate tracking, the best analytics tool for your Amazon seller account. And not only does it help you track your numbers and know when you're profitable or not on each ASIN, It also gives you additional features such as managing your inventory, getting reimbursements for FBA errors, staying informed about listing changes, and optimizing your pay-per-click campaigns. A bunch of robust features for just a few dollars. It's a great tool. Many successful sellers in our community are using them, especially loving the way that they help you know if you're profitable or not, keeping track of all those different fees. Hey, go check out Sellerboard, silentjimdotcom/numbers. We'll talk to you next time.